Hello, all you wonderful Rise of Kingdoms players out there. This is Dragothien here. Today, we're going to be doing what is going to be the best and most efficient Commander Max Order guide from KvK 1 all the way to Season of Conquest and everything thereafter. Let's jump into it. All right, so this is going to be, again, one of the most comprehensive, up-to-date maxing order guides that's out there right now. Some things that we're going to be caveating before we get started. First off, we're not going to be showing Ethelfled because you're going to be able to get Ethelfled at your leisure, depending on how good you are at Expedition and how quickly you can start going through those levels. Number two, we're not really going to be talking about gold key commanders because, again, depending on your spending level, you're going to max those at some point or another. I will say for the gold key commanders, though, three that come to mind that we should at least mention but not necessarily put into the guide. Charles, you should get him to 5511, Mehmed 5515, and Double C 5155 as well. But again, get those as you get your gold keys. Don't put your legendary sculptures, your universal legendary sculptures inside of those because it's not as efficient. If you need to for KvK, if you're like a main battler, I get it. Just understand that that's going to slow your progress as we go through this guide on what you're going to be able to get as you get to Season of Conquest. Let's go ahead and jump in. First off, we're going to be going for KvK 1, and we have a nice set of graphics here, which highlights what you can unlock in KvK 1 and what you should use them at that point in time. So first off, at the very top, I've got maxed these first from an epic standpoint. Again, these are your priority epic commanders that you should want to max. This is the last time we're going to be talking about epics, but I just wanted to put this in here from an overall graphic standpoint. You've got Sun Tzu, Osmond, Baibars, and Bjorn. All four of those are going to be commanders that, unless you're a decent spender, you're going to be using those four commanders for a decent amount of time. So I wanted to make sure you guys know that you should be focusing on those. You can also throw Joan in there as well. Regular Scipio for the troop capacity is not the worst in the world, but that's a whole nother video, a whole nother topic. Those four, in my opinion, from a damage standpoint and a support standpoint on the field, are your best bet. I want you to make sure you focus on those. Now, three legendary commanders, and really two, unless you're spending, that you really want to focus on KvK 1, and this is really it for your universals and where you want to put them, right? So to me, the only commander that you're going to be putting the universals on is going to be YSG, and again, 5511 is what you want to start out with, but ultimately you do want to max YSG. That's the priority target for KvK 1 on where you should be putting your universal sculptures. Now, Richard, you can get Richard 5111 and be perfectly fine, especially if you're a low spender or a free-to-play player. Having a 5111 Richard will help you out tremendously when it comes to taking care of barbarians and all those other things that help you generate resources and speed-ups and materials in the game, and ultimately will help you tackle some of the KvK content when it comes to all the PvE side of things. Now, if you are spending, Minna is a commander that you do want to focus on. And again, if you're going to spend, go ahead and get him. Don't half-ass it, right? Don't just 5511 him. If you're going to get him, get him. He's the least expensive legendary commander in the game, with the exception of Ethelfled. So, I mean, if you want to have a very quality, especially as you get into Season of Conquest, when you start to unlock the museum buffs, Minna is a fantastic commander to have and will be usable through the entirety of your account's lifecycle. At least at this point in time, at the end of May 2022, this is going to be the way I would focus on things. So again, really focusing all of your universal sculptures on your YSG. Richard is going to be 5111, and then max Minna if you are so inclined to spend. If you are not spending, don't worry about it. It's just an extra for you. It's not necessary, but again, he is a commander that does have a very long life cycle, so worth the money that you're going to be actually putting into him if you decide to do so. Now that's KvK 1, and that's really all you can get into, right? Because everything else is going to be KvK 2, 3, and Season of Conquest, or gold key commanders. And like I said at the very beginning of the video, you don't want to have to necessarily put universal sculptures into gold key commanders. You will eventually max those out over the course of your account's life cycle. You don't want to have to spend and waste is the key word. Sculptures on Charles, sculptures on Mehmed, sculptures on Double C, sculptures on Julius. I mean, why would you do that, right? But certainly that's something that people have done. People early in the game who didn't have an idea of what this game would become in 2022 put sculptures into a lot of those commanders, including myself. So I'm trying to save you from having waste early on. You know, take what you can get, use what you have. These commanders here, plus your epics, will serve you perfectly fine in KvK 1. Just understand these are very short, fleeting moments of your account's life. Season of Conquest is really when this game gets started. Let's jump to KvK 2. So KvK 2 unlocks quite a few new commanders, and again, some very priority commanders that you want to have as an account ages and as you start to get into the game. First and most important is going to be Alexander the Great. You should start him at 5511 and ultimately max him. He is another Wheel of Fortune commander, so again, you don't have to win an MGE to get him. He is available to everybody with a wheel available to them once they hit KvK 2, and again, you have the ability to really use him at 5511 early, but eventually I think he's going to be your priority max for KvK 2. You also have Saladin unlocking for yourself as well. 5551 is when you want to start to really use him. You can use him before that, but 5551 is really about 95% effective when it comes to being able to use him on the field on a long-term basis. And again, you eventually do want to max him, but again, not a priority per se, especially if you're a low spender or a free-to-play player. You don't necessarily want to or need to max him. That's 390 gold universal sculptures, or again, if you're winning MGE early, that might lower a bit, but still very expensive to max from 5551 to max. And Saladin, again, being 95% effective at 5551, for everybody but a medium plus spending player, I would recommend just leaving them there. Now, Tamiris, I added Tamiris in here. She's not a must-have, but she is a long-term value commander. And when I say that, 5 something something 5, so 5xx5, gives you a really good nuke on her first skill, and the debuff for skill damage taken to your target on the 4th skill. All the other skills are really irrelevant for what we're using Tamiris for on the field. If you do pair her with, say, another archer commander, and especially once you get into KvK 3 and ultimately into Season of Conquest, where you start to unlock some of the better archer commanders, she's going to have so much value in this game. And she's one of the best commanders for KvK 2 as well. So if you want to have a major impact in KvK 2, Tamiris actually has a very, very high ceiling when it comes to using her in KvK 2 and onward. But I wanted to make sure I included her in here because ultimately she has a very, very long cycle of life when it comes to being usable in this game. It's not over yet for her. And this game has been out for 3.5 years. Now she's been out for maybe 2 years, but you get my drift. She has a lot of value. She has a lot of staying power. And those are the top 3 that we want to use here. Everybody else that you got Genghis Khan, you've got Constantine. Those are other commanders that are available. You want to unlock those, right? So in yellow, unlock all commanders to this point, okay? You want to unlock them because you want to be able to buy the Writer of History bundle that comes when you do. Now, if you're not a spender, then this is irrelevant, but you still want to kind of have all the commanders, right? I mean, that's part of the Pokemon catch-em-all of Rise of Kingdoms, right? But you want to actually unlock these for those Writer of History bundles. If you were going to be spending any amount of dollars into this game, the Writer of History bundle is what you want to buy. It's one of the most valuable bundles in the game, and it only pops up whenever you summon a legendary commander, okay? It's $5 for 10 gold sculptures. It's super, super cheap for so much value in the game, plus all the other stuff that bundle gives you on top of the 10 gold sculptures. Very, very valuable and very much worth it, okay? Very much worth it. And again, that's why I have that yellow unlock all commanders to this point, because you're going to need all those universal sculptures as we start to go into KvK 3 and Season of Conquest. Let's jump over to KvK 3. A bunch of text. Now, why is there just a bunch of text and no commanders? Well, you don't get any commanders specifically for KvK 3 in Rise of Kingdoms. There's no specific, not anymore anyway, There's no specific KvK 3 commanders like there is for KvK 1 and KvK 2, meaning they're unlockable in those time frames when your kingdom is beginning to start, right? So what you need to do, and again, this is just written out for you in plain English, start stocking up on your Universal Legendary Sculptures, okay? Big deal. And again, you can start doing that by doing all of the events that you get throughout the game. You have tons of free-to-play events from a gold sculpture standpoint. You obviously have Universal Sculptures available to you when you're spinning the wheel, if you decide to do so from a spending standpoint, or free-to-play have plenty of opportunity to spin the wheel as well. You just don't stockpile as many Universal Sculptures as a spender would, okay? Or you have the option to go ahead and finish your YSG or finish your Alex, because again, those are not gold key commanders. So the only way for you to max your YSG and your Alex is to spin the wheels and to use Universal Sculptures. And ultimately, what you want to do is you want to use what you've got to max at least YSG. I would really advise Alex getting maxed as well, but if it's not right away, it's not the end of the world, because when we're starting to get into the Season of Conquest, you're really going to have a good time with these commanders coming out here, and they're going to require a lot of sculptures. So let's jump into Season of Conquest. Here we go. Okay, so this is the most complex portion of the slide, but I want to make sure you have all the information. Now, here's where we need to start understanding, because once you get into Season of Conquest, you're in all the pools, right? You're in the pool of Season of Conquest kingdoms. What that means is if you're Kingdom 2500, right, or you're Kingdom 2300, you're going to be in the same pool depending on your kingdom class, which can be Imperium all the way down to D, okay, depending on the strength of your kingdom, basically. You're going to be in the same Season of Conquest pool as Kingdom 1, okay? So with that being said, you need to make sure that you are being very efficient with your Universal Sculptures. I mean, I can't stress it enough how efficient you need to be with your sculptures. This is where you're going to get the bulk of your army set up, okay? This is where you're going to really start to flesh your account out. Everything before this was basically setting up some very foundational basics to set you up for success with these new Season of Conquest commanders that are available to you as you hit quote-unquote KvK 4, but it's called Season of Conquest. Those are Heroic Anthem, Heroic Anthem Pioneer now, you have Strife of the Eight, you have Desert Conquest, you have March of the Ages, which hasn't been around for a while, or hasn't been around for ages. That being said, those are all Season of Conquest KvKs, okay? Everything before that is basically prep for this, okay? This is the game. This is the ultimate game. This is you against the world, all right? So let's go ahead and go through these commanders really quickly. I've shown all of them, so if this is the only thing you're here for, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe on the channel. It's very beneficial for us, and it's super free for you. We are a sponsored content creation channel for Rise of Kingdoms, so make sure that you, again, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Make sure you go check out some of the playlists on my channel. If you need any other guides, they're all there waiting for you. This is an update to some of the previous guides that we've already done. So commander-wise, we have Guan 5XX5, very similar to how I described Tamiris. Guan, you want Guan because of his AoE silence. That's really what you're bringing Guan to the table for. Now, if you want to add some damage to that, that's where the 5-something-something-5 comes into play. So again, if you're a very free-to-play player, 5-1-1-1, you're golden. Move on with your life, okay? But if you have some extra sculptures to put in eventually, 5-something-something-5 is very strong. The damage output is strong too. Guan is a little glassy though, okay? So unless you're putting him with a very tanky secondary commander, which again we'll get to in just a moment, you're going to be struggling with keeping him alive a little bit because he's infantry, so he's not very fast. He has some speed, and again, if he's expertise, he has some great speed for 3 seconds, but that's about it, okay? So 5-something-something-5 will get him some very strong damage, AoE silence, all those good things. Now I have at the bottom, before I keep going through all these, okay, Priority Max, okay, Priority Max. Those are the 2 Prime commanders that are out right now, of Scipio Prime and Boudica Prime, and Alexander Nevsky. Those are your 3 Priority Maxes. The reason I say that, as of right now, and again, end of May, basically call it June 2022, these are your 3 best commanders in the entire game. And the reason being, they're the latest generation of commanders from a damage standpoint, as well as just overall stats, benefits, buffs, debuffs, all those little things. This is the latest generation, and it's a really significant boost from the previous, which would be XY and Nebu and Gilga and all those commanders. These are the next generation, and they're newish. They're new by a long shot, okay? So you need to make sure that you are getting these guys first. So unlock these guys, start working on them, but focus on, as you can see, you've got Cav, Infantry, and Archer. Focus on what kind of account you're going to be first. So if you're going to be a primary infantry account, get your Scipio, get him super maxed, and get Guan 5-something-something-5. And then you're going to be really, really good. And then we also have Herald there too, which we'll talk about in a second. But then you've got Boudica Prime, right? If you're going to go archers, right, go Boudica Prime, get her maxed as all get out, and then start focusing on Nebu 5-5-1-5. That would be a very solid march. You have Nevsky, which is the best Cav commander in the game right now. If you're going to be going Cav commander heavy focus on your account, get Nevsky. Go ahead and get Attila. That's one of the best rallies in the game right now. Or you have William there, 5-5-5-1, very high value for a very good AoE commander for Cav. Those two paired together are amazing. It's one of the best marches in the game. So again, focus on what you want to focus on, but if you just want to have the best available for all the type of marches in the game, those three at the bottom are your best bet for Season of Conquest. Make sure you unlock and start working on those first before you start to really get into the Attila, the Herald, the Nebu, and the William that I'm about to go over, unless you have a specific purpose, which is what I'm going to talk about Attila next for, if you need some help doing certain things. So let's jump to Attila really quickly. 5-1-5-5 is what I would use him on the open field, and then max him certainly because he has an immunity to silence for his expertise. That is invaluable. There's so much silence out there. I just talked about Guan having an AoE silence, and I can't tell you how many Guans are on the open field in Season of Conquest. It's like an ant army of Guans. They're everywhere, especially considering Scipio just came out and how good of a pair that Guan-Scipio pairing is on the field. Get a 5-1-5-5 Attila. Now, here's the thing. If you are a low-spending player or a free-to-play player, you're going to have a hard time in Season of Conquest getting your 30 million kills. Attila Takeda is one of the two best, in my opinion, marches in the game to help you get your 30 million kills so that you can get your best rewards from Season of Conquest KvK, okay? Attila Takeda 5-1-5-5, Attila 5-1-5-5, Takeda 5-5-5-1 should help you get to 30 million kills, if not get you there on their own. Now, eventually, again, both of those maxed will give you even more value from a kill ratio standpoint because those guys are just super tanks that move really fast and cause a bunch of severely wounded. That's the whole purpose of them. Okay, so Attila and Takeda, if you're having problems or if you're struggling getting 30 million kills in Season of Conquest KvK, that's your best march, in my opinion, to get that done. Now, alternatively, we talked about how we need to have a nice, strong Alex, right? 5-5-1-1 is the minimum, eventually max, okay? But Herald's 5-1-5-5, eventually max for Season of Conquest as well. Reason being, Alex Herald, Herald Alex, one of the best marches in the game, hands down. The amount of damage you pump out with that army is absurd. You also have a ton of survivability with Alex casting a shield. You have Herald throwing axes like they're going out of style. You have the ability to double instant proc nuke damage with both commanders having 10% and ultimately 20% chance probability to fire their skills off that cause damage every single turn. There is a cooldown for those, but it's very short. You do so much damage with that pair. And again, if you're cheeseburgering, which means you're jumping in and out of cities, trying to get quick kills, this is another one of those marches that can help you get your 30 million kills really efficiently and really effectively. Alex Herald, Herald Alex is a great pairing, one of the best in the open field right now, and certainly one of the ones that you want to have in your repertoire. And this will help you get that without very much investment. If you look at Alex 5-5-1-1 and Herald 5-1-5-5, that's less gold sculptures than an entirely maxed commander from start to finish. You can have either one max commander or you can have 5-5-1-1 Alex, 5-1-5-5 Herald. How cool is that to have one of the best marches in the game relatively good to go without even spending as many sculptures as would be one full max legendary commander? Pretty sweet. Let's go move on to Nebu. So we have Nebuchadnezzar. We have 5-5-1-5. Again, eventually max him. He's one of the best archer commanders in the game. He has a ton of longevity. He's currently part of the rally meta. And again, you want to have Nebuchadnezzar just in general, because if you start getting Boudica, or if you decide to go into Ramses, which is another good value, but not quite as good as these 5 that I have on the screen for you right now. Nebu 5515 is serviceable on the open field. You're missing his rally skill, which is again irrelevant on the open field, but his expertise is nice. So eventually you do want to max him. But again, that's an afterthought when you have some extra sculptures. Same premise with William 5551. Great Cav March. Again, 90% effective without that 4th skill being maxed. But again, that 4th skill being maxed is very, very nice, and his expertise does help quite a bit. So eventually you do want to max him. And ultimately, again, I would value William maybe a little bit over Nebu, just because of the crowd control options that he has and the debuff options that he has. Nebu probably has some more just raw damage overall because of his AoE. The way it works, it's a half circle. It's not a fan shape, or in William's case, it's a big rectangle going out the front of him. But it's also 5 targets. So you have massive amount of damage going out. And again, part of the rally meta. So if you end up getting some extra sculptures and getting, maybe say Henry V, which just came out, or about to come out, I should say, alongside of Boudica Prime, then you might actually have the best rally in the game, and then you can start doing some things from that standpoint, okay? So let's jump back in. Before I do, go ahead and take your screenshot. This graphic will be on my Discord, guys, so make sure you go below in the description after you hit the like button and after you subscribed if you haven't done so. Join the Discord channel. There's tons of free stuff there for you. There's tons of community there waiting to help you if you have any questions, especially if you're a new player. Just jump in there and ask some questions. I'm in there all day. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Let's jump over to the actual castle again, and we'll go ahead and wrap up. All right, everybody, I hope you had a great time. Again, I didn't bring my video up during the main part of that because the entire screen was covered with amazing data. I didn't want to take that away from you, but tons of information there. To me, this is the best legendary max order in KvK order that you can get right now. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you hit the like button and subscribe, it'd be very, very appreciated. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers, have a good one, and take care.